Today we're with Donald Perrier. He's a well-known voice from the now defunct BBC Radio Jersey lunchtime phone-in programme, and he's also a regular at states meetings and in parish halls, and he's always standing up and making questions. Very few people know anything about him. We all know his voice, but here we are, we're going to interview him. He's going to tell us a bit about his life, his opinion and his views.
Yes, Donald, rather appropriate that we're here because you live just across the way there. That's where you live at the moment. It's a rather fabulous little location on the harbour, the old harbour, one of the key spots in the island, and also doubly relevant, we're in the garden here. We've seen this lovely garden of the Folly Inn, the pub, which has been closed for many, many years. An absolute tragedy. Fabulous location like this, and it's closed. It says a great deal about what's happening in Jersey, doesn't it?
Well, I suppose it does, but it didn't make a profit, so what else could you do with it? You know, and plus the fact that there was no music here or nothing like that. You've got to have music, you've got to have cabaret, discos and all that. It was a fisherman's pub that a lot of...
In anywhere else in Cornwall, you'd have the restaurateur who's running all these restaurants. You'd have a fabulous setup going on here.
I'll be honest, the times, I don't think this was ever known to be a restaurant pub. You might have got a sandwich in here, but that's all. I don't think you have ever got meals or anything like that.
Well, your memory won't go back that far, but in 1800, it used to be the manager here was a guy called Logan Finney. And he used to make a living because he was a smuggler, and he was a famous smuggler at the day. And I think his two brothers used to live in Cornwall, and they used to have a wonderful trade going here. But of course, that would probably be frowned on now.
It came to some notability when they were reclaiming the fuel farm, where a lot of the Dutch firm Needham's, I think, Needham's, a Dutch firm that was doing the job. A lot of the boys working there had a very good thrift club here, and it went up to Swanee one Christmas Day when they come to the payout, and they were paid. They were owed.
This area, the docks area generally, in most old towns, the docks buzzes. It's got a buzz to it, and the public can go there and they can do a bit of fishing, they can get boat trips around the harbour and all that sort of thing. It doesn't happen here, does it? It's such a shame. It's so pretty, potentially so pretty. Look at it down there. It looks absolutely fabulous. It doesn't happen. Why is it?
I sit on the format. Well, they've taken the form away because they're doing they're tarmacking the pavement there. But 90% of those boats in that harbour never go out from one year's end to another. And I've mentioned this on the radio, it's too cheap, the moorings are too cheap there. And when I said to a chap, why do they never take their boats out? The bloke said to me, I said, the gentleman there painting that boat there, I said, he spends more time than what he does at his house. And he said to me, if you had a wife like he had, you'd sleep on it. That's what he said to me. Yeah, if you had a wife like he had, you'd sleep on it, he said.
So you've lived in Jersey all your life?
Yes.
What sort of work did you do?
I was a bricklayer.
Bricklayer?
Yeah.
So you know a bit about buildings?
Yes.
You've built a few buildings?
Oh, yes. 90% of them, I would say, have been knocked down.
Have they? Really?
And you know what? Some of the ones, I was still an apprentice there, and we'd taken the hoarding down. I'll tell you where it is afterwards. And the boss said to me, Donald, do you want to do... I was cheap labour then, because I was still an apprentice. Do you want to do a couple of weekends' work? He said, you can part some manholes today, but Sunday you can come casually dressed and read your paper. Fair enough, I said, yes. He was paying me the same rate. So I'm in this manhole, and this gentleman comes, and he said to me, is the foreman around? Oh, no, I said, it's Saturday afternoon, we close at midday. Oh, he said. So I said to him, why, can I help you? Well, he said, I wanted to put some leaflets through the doors. They were almost finished, see? Oh, I said, no, I would imagine you can do that, I said to him. So he said, they don't look bad looking around. Oh, no, I said, you want to go over one? I wouldn't mind, he said. So I took him in there, I went in the office, got a key off the door. I'll take you up to some of the top ones because they're completely finished. So we went up the stairs, and this was Anthony's Quarry, which later became known as Clarence Court, where the archives is now. And he walked in there, and he said, they're little palaces. He said, they're better than what I got. that was the words he said to me, that they were better places than what he got. And what's it now? It's all been knocked down, and because of maintenance and that, you know.
You've got a wage slip from 1964. Do you want to show us that?
Well, this was, oh no, the bit I've just been talking to you about was before that.
Well, I remember seeing the old Clarence Court building when they were still lived in.
Yes.
And they were dreadful when they were lived in.
Yes,
but that was shortly before they got demolished, so...
The period I'm talking about was just after the war.
Yeah.
And of course, I helped to fit all the back boilers. They were back boilers there with a coal. You had to have a coal.
Do you want to show us your, so we can film it on the camera?
Yes. Now that's a wage slip. I don't know if we can get in on it close, but that's one of your wage slips from 1964. And that's a week's work, and you've got there...
Well, the bottom part is what I actually took home.
£18, is it?
No.
Yep, £18,
oh, yes,
4 shillings.
£18, 4 shillings. Okay.
And 10 pence.
So that's for a week's work on the buildings, come rain or shine.
Yes. And 56, how many hours?
54 and 3/8.
54 and 3/8 hours.
But Saturday was time and a half, like, you know.
Right. I mean, obviously, in those days, was that good wage?
Oh, wow. Oh, yes.
Reasonable living wage. You could live on it.
Oh, well, it was above union wage.
Above union wage. And was that a local firm, obviously?
Well, it was. What makes me think, because there was a sixpence social club there, it was either Farley's or Regals, I think. To be sure, I couldn't, but that's the only two firms I worked for when we had a social club.
Right.
And that was only a booze up at Christmas. We never had a clubhouse anywhere or nothing like that.
I mean, obviously, relatively speaking, life was simpler then. I don't think you ever own a car or a motorbike or anything like that.
No. Well, see, now we're on about that. You're talking about that. I'm coming back to that poor chap that was found in the Victoria Cottage Homes there. He was 6 weeks without
nobody knew he was there. You know? That's right.
Well, around this time, when I was working here, I was living in a yard in Devonshire Place.
Right.
Now, we never locked in those times. Nobody had any money, so you went to work, you didn't even bother to lock the door. My mother stayed at home, she was a housewife sort of thing. My father went to work, my sister was married, and there were several people up the yard, they all in the same position, and they were in one another's house having a cup of tea and all that. And you never bothered. You'd have never been had 6 weeks there without being found. You know, they'd say, I haven't seen you. I haven't seen Mrs. Arkwright or Mrs. So-and-so. And they'd knock on your window and, are you all right? Or things like that.
So there was a strong sense of community there.
Yes. Like in the wartime Britain, like, you know. Because
who was there? Were they Jersey people or were there other?
Carlton was, well, they were Irish descendants. Mrs. Lawrence was English. Where were the others now? I can't remember the other's name now. Mrs. Lawrence. Well, because my mother became blind there, she used to do our housework. I employed her for a morning to do the housework, and she'd come in and make make the bed and clean all the things. I made the bed before I went to work and that, but she used to come and do the cleaning one day a week, but half a morning I think it was.
If your mum was blind, disabled, financially, how were you able to support her? You had to literally had to do it.
Well, you see, now we're coming back to this, as I told you the other day. Eventually, my father only worked 1 week paying social security. We paid the threepence a week. Right. We had a card that you used to stick stamps on, but that only what paid you if you had an accident at work. Purely, there was no pension, there was nothing about that.
What did your father do?
He was a gardener. Now, he was an ardent JJ supporter, as I told you the other JJ, as you know. Yes. And of course, me and my old man used to have arguments over JJ, because I think my old man felt a lot for him. We lived up at Trinity during the war, and we used to glean in JJ's father's field. It gets a bit complicated here, because one was John James and the other one was James John. The old man, they were both known as JJ, you know, but anyway.